Well, good evening. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Unleashed. Tonight's podcast is 7 Ways Why My Senses Lead Me Through Life. Why senses lead me out of my mind museum and illuminate my paths of enlightenment, liberating me from me. I rise through life guided by the sense of sovereign clarity that refuses to bow to my mind museum's thinking, knowing, and knowledge. The museum mind is a gallery of inherited fears and archived identities and emotional fossils pretending to be truth. Truth is a fallacy because it's got your viewpoints, opinions, beliefs, and it's not here and now. The sense walks me straight out of those exhibits. It bypasses a curator voice that narrates caution, guilt, duty, and hesitation. It moves before thought, beyond programming and outside every ancestral map, because we are ancestrally obedient. My senses illuminate my paths of enlightenment because they unveil what thought tries to hide. Enlightenment is never enlightenment, it's raw electric clarity that erupts when instinct replaces intellect. It is the moment the museum lights shut off the frontier horizon, lights up my heart and soul, illuminating my paths of enlightenment through the universe. It is the moment I stop reenacting lineage and start embodying sovereign perception. I move with energetic liberation because it dissolves inherited scripts that once dictated my choices. Liberation is never a concept, it is a voltage. It rises you through the sense, never through the story. It liberates the story. It is breath-driven. It's a breath-driven surge that snaps obedience and dissolves fear, logic, and restores original authority and acumen. My senses lead me because they are older than trauma, older than culture, and older than the rule I was told to obey, because senses are here and now. I sense my way through life because the sense frees me as my senses illuminates me. The sense shows me a way to myself because the senses bypass inherited obedience. And we do live in inherited obedience of education, ancestral obedience. And thinking is where ancestral obedience hides. The sense cuts straight through hesitation, guilt, caution, and be realistic reflexes. All ancient danger logic pretending to be your voice where you stay the same. When your senses lead, you move with a rancher-wise instinct, direct, unhurried, and unmanipulated. And that's really something I've really awakened to. All I'm really doing is unmanipulating my thinking memory museum and my inherited stuff. The sense never negotiates with the past. My senses never negotiate with the past. They override the past. Because the senses unveil authenticity before thought can distort it. See, our thoughts, is once they enter, they're going to distort whatever's there. Thoughts narrates old rules. And the thing about senses, they rise you out of your comfort zone cloning. Thoughts narrate old rules. Senses shows the raw, untamed nous of now. Nous is wisdom. Your senses perceive reality and nowality before memory, culture, lineage, or inherited fear maps can interfere. This is the frontier frequency, clarity that rises before thought, beyond permission and outside inherited maps. Because senses restore sovereign ease as your natural motion. Ease is never luck, it's liberated instinct. When your senses lead you through life, you move like a rancher reading the land, clean, instinctual, and sovereign, and you see the world in front of you. It's like going to coming over the pass at Togedy Pass, falling off into Jackson. All you see is the Tetons. It's any place like that where you see the beauty of the place. Nothing, when your senses are active, nothing old steers your reins. The sense is the ignition. Senses ignite and replace obedience with ease, clarity, and unfiltered sovereignty. The difference between sense and feel is sense is perception, feel is emotion. The sense is direct awareness, clean, immediate, and sovereign. It's how you perceive nowality before thought, before memory, and before inherited maps. Feel is emotional reaction shaped by lineage, culture, conditioning, and old danger, logic. Sense is frontier clarity, feels ancestral echoes, and ancestor obedience. Ancestor obedience is something that will open you up when you understand we're stuck in those ancestor obedience. Sense rises before thought. Feel rises after thought. I want to repeat that. Senses rise before thought. Feel rises after thought. The sense is pre-thought instinct, the rancher-wise signal that moves without permission. Feel is post-thought interpretation, the mind museum's emotional commentary. Sense is the raw now. Feel is a narrated past. Sense liberates the liberates the loops. Sense snaps obedience because it bypasses inherited emotional reflexes. Feel often reenacts lineage, guilt, duty, caution, shame, trauma, drama, pride, and fear. Sense opens the frontier of your debonair flair as you ride, hell-bent for election, to your dreamer's paradises. Feel repeats the museum and why hearkening my senses bypasses my mind museum through listening, questioning, witnessing, and observing my inner peace. Because hearkening is the senses dissolving the museum mind's archived noise. The mind museum stores old fears, old identities, and old conclusions, all pretending to be truth as we move forward in life. As we move forward in life, we do things. As we move forward in life, we get out the old conclusions that were tended to be truth. When I hearken my senses, I stream enterprising nirvana. The mind museum stores old fears, old identities, old conclusions, and all pretending to be truth. When I hearken the sense, I bypass dusty exhibits. Listening becomes liberation because I'm perceiving and experiencing the now, not reenacting the past. And see, that's what emotions are doing. They're reliving the past. Senses are your antennas reaching out to what's going on out here. It allows you to witness and observe your life. As senses clears the gallery, so inner peace can be felt and witnessed without distortion. As questioning, because questioning through the senses exposes inherited scripts. The museum mind answers with memory. Boy, mine does really well. The sensors show you a visionary veracity that rises you out of the situation. See, answers and solutions are blockages. The senses show you a better way. When I question my senses, I unveil which thoughts are mine and which are inherited. And the thing about the inherited and invented, they're now, but when you sense it and you question it and you listen, you get authenticity and acumen of now. The spirit frequency clarity is the moment inner peace becomes visible because the noise is no longer in charge. And how is the noise of the past in charge of your life today? I'd like to say mine isn't, but there is times it is. Because witnessing and observing through sense unleashes sovereign stillness to flow through me and quiets me down. Witnessing from the mind museum creates commentary, as witnessing from senses creates the calm, enterprising wizardry of me. Observing through the senses bypasses emotional residue, ancestral reflexes, and cultural narratives. Inner peace emerges because nothing old is narrating the moment. Inner peace emerges because nothing old and from the past is narrating anything in the moment. It's only sovereign perception. The difference between hearing, listening, and hearkening. Hearing is a vibration. Hearing is the body's automatic reception of sound, raw vibration entering the ear. It requires zero awareness, zero intention, and zero sovereignty. Hearing is passive, mechanical, and reflexive. It notices noise, but never perceives the truth. Listening is attention. Listening is the act of directing awareness towards what is heard. It is selective, intentional, and focused. Listening filters, interprets, and tries to understand. Hearing and listening engages the mind's museum, sometimes clearly, sometimes distortedly. Hearkening is perception. Hearkening is sovereign awareness, the sense receiving the veracity before thought interferes. It bypasses the museum mind entirely. Hearkening is instinctual, frontier wise, and with a spirit sharpness. It perceives meaning, frequency, intention, and inner peace directly. The sovereign veracity is hearing, vibration, listening, attention. Hearkening equals perception. Hearing picks up sound, listening interprets sound, hearkening unveils the veracity. Why my sense of smell awakens taste, listening, sight, and touch. Because smell is a primal ignition. Smell is your oldest sense, the frontier alarm system that wakes the whole body. When smell activates, it sends instinct through your entire sensory field. That's why when you smell pie bacon, that's your sensory field. I had another one, but that wasn't as good. That was a little too other way. Taste sharpens sight, widens. Taste sharpens, sight widens, touch heightens, and listening deepens. Smell awakens the others because it's first. It is the first sense to detect authenticity before thought interferes. Because smell triggers inner listening. Smell carries memory, frequency, and emotional signatures. When it rises, your listening shifts from hearing noise to hearkening the meaning and the foresight. Smell opens the senses behind the sound, the instinctual awareness that bypasses the mind museum. It expands listening into sovereign perception because smell expands presence. Smell pulls you into the raw, untamed now, the moment where sight sharpens, touch grounds, taste refines. Taste refines. That's why pie always smells so good. It tastes refined. It dissolves distraction, heightens embodiment. Smell awakens your sensory field because it anchors you into presence, never memory. Present moment is where all senses ignite together. Why my senses are the body awakenings that rise me through life. Because senses are the body's first veracity tellers and authenticity authors. Before thought, before memory, before the mind museum starts narrating, your senses deliver raw truth. Sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing, they awaken you into the now with supreme clarity. They rise you through life because they perceive novelty before programming can interfere. Senses are primal veracity or authenticity, sovereign ignition, spirit frequency awareness, because senses awaken your inner peace through direct perception. Inner peace isn't created by thinking, it's revealed and unveiled by perceiving. Your senses bypass emotional residue and ancestral reflexes, letting you witness life without distortion. That's something I've really opened up to, is you got to witness and observe life to rise out of the past. And you do that all right here. When your senses awaken your inner peace, because visible, audible, tangible senses are peace activators, clarity amplifiers, supreme stillness. As senses rise your body of sovereign motion, the senses they never just inform you, they move you through expansion with ease. They guide instinct, sharpen awareness, and elevate your presence of extreme frequencies. Your senses rise you through life because they awaken your body's wisdom, insight, and clarity. Never your mind's museum commentary. Senses embody wisdom, frontier navigation, liberation of motion. Why my senses dissolve emotional snapshots and unleash energized intuitive artistry. Because senses erase emotional residue with direct perception. Emotional snapshots are museum mind freeze frames, old reactions pretending to be current truth. The senses dissolve them by pulling you into the raw and tamed now. Sight, smell, touch, hearing, taste deliver immediate nowality, never archived emotion. When perception overrides memory, inner peace becomes visible and intuitive artistry awakens. As senses awaken, energized intuition beyond thought, and they dissolve all the thought loops and inner scripts. Senses liberate, they bypass emotional commentary and ignite instinctual clarity. The frontier wisdom moves without hesitation. Energized intuition is the birthplace. Your artistry, fluid and sovereign, uncolonized by the past. Emotions are colored and sculpted right here. Senses turn reaction into creation, because senses awaken the artistic artistry within you. Emotional snapshots trap you in old stories. And that's when, like when you meet somebody, and whatever that snapshot is, that's an emotional snapshot, because that's what a person can never get away from it. When you perceive instead of remember, your inner world becomes a canvas for you to design, bring out your Picasso prowess, and paint your life you desired, instead of the cage of rage that the egotistical arrogance keeps you in. As supreme frequencies, and your supreme frequency, artistry, and intuition are liberated and alive. While listening and hearkening to wisdom, my senses shut down my thinking, knowing museum and opens my free-flowing intuitive wisdom. Because listening through the senses dissolves the mind's museum commentary. And how is the world living the thinking memory mind museum today? Because we talk about a lot, but we never talk about rising out of anything. The Thinking Knowing Museum is a gallery of old conclusions, archived fears, and inherited interpretations. As I listen through my senses, I bypass the dusty exhibits of my museum mind. I get out of the back rooms in the basement of my mind museum and into the wild frontier of my aerospace savvy. Sight, smell, touch, taste, hearing deliver raw, now veracity that the museum can never distort. This dissolves mental commentary and opens intuitive clarity. As hearkening activates sovereign perception beyond thought. Hearkening is never listening. It is awakened perception. It comprehends meaning before thought, frequency before logic, and veracity before memory. Hearkening shuts down the thinking knowing museum because it refuses to feed it. It opens free-flowing intuitive wisdom by replacing analysis with instinct. As my senses convert mental noise into intuitive artistry, I color my world with my dreamer's paradises. As I listen and hearken the wisdom of my senses, emotional residue dissolves and mental loops collapse. Right now. Senses pull me into the presence, the birthplace of intuitive artistry, and my presence is a creative flow without permission, hesitation, and inherited limits. Senses equal liberation, intuition, sovereign, creative motion. Why my senses liberate me from my mind museum and clear my hearkened here and now wisdom. Senses dissolve yesterday's emotional exhibits. The mind museum stores emotional snapshots, archived fears, and outdated interpretations. My senses pull me out of those exhibits by delivering raw, present moment wisdom and inspiration. Sight, smell, touch, hearing, taste override memory with immediacy. Yesterday loses authority because perception colors it out of my life now. Because senses unleash sovereign presence beyond thought. Thought reenacts the past. My senses awaken my here and now with natural optimistic wisdom. As I perceive directly, the thinking knowing museum shuts down and has nothing to narrate. That's kind of nice. Presence becomes my operating frequencies. Intuition and wisdom flow effortlessly. Senses equal liberation from mental repetition because senses clear intuitive wisdom by unleashing and clearing inner stillness. The mind museum creates noise, senses innovate clarity. They return me to my breath-driven now, where intuition rises naturally, fluidly, and freely. When perception leads, wisdom becomes clean, immediate, and sovereign. Senses clear the open range and rise of enterprising prowess. Why my senses are sovereign savvy and rise me out of inherited nervous system and mind museum scripts and loops. My senses override inherited nervous system obedience. The inherited nervous system reacts from ancestral alarms, old fears, and reflexes. My senses rise me beyond those reflexes by delivering direct present moment veracity. Sight, smell, touch, hearing, taste awaken sovereign perception that stopped that no lineage can control. This dissolves inherited obedience and restores my divine dreamer's dexterity. Because my senses unwind the mind and its mind's invented museum. The mind museum is a self-constructed archive of thinking, knowing, interpreting, knowledge, and thoughts, looping from yesterday and my ancestors and beyond and before. My senses shut down its exhibits by replacing memory with immediacy. When perception leads, the museum unwinds its stories and loses its authority, and its narratives lose gravity. This opens intuitive motion, fluid clarity, and supreme frequency sovereignty. Supreme frequency sovereignty. How does that feel when you say that? Because my senses chauffeur my divine dreamer's dexterity through life with the greatest of ease. I am the divine dreamer, and within me moves through instinct, imagination, intuitive artistry with ease. My senses are the vehicle that chauffeur, carrying me through life with clean awareness and frontier clarity. They dissolve yesterday, clear the now, and ignite my free-flowing intuitive wisdom. I like that. Free-flowing intuitive wisdom. How does that feel? Senses equal sovereign navigation, dreamer dexterity, and liberated motion. Why emotions are social obedient children, as my senses are sovereign valor that chauffeur me through life. Emotions are obedient children, trained by yesterday, shaped by lineage, disciplined by culture. They react from the old, serve the mind museum, bowing to its archived fears and inherited narratives. Emotions react to what I was taught, never where I powerfully perceive. My senses are sovereign valor, uncolonized, unprogrammed, unafraid. They chauffeur me through life with raw immediacy, never emotional memory. Sight illuminates veracity. Hearing reveals frequency. Touch grounding presence. Smell awakenings with an innovative instinct. Taste the refined discernment of life that tastes like a filet mignon. My senses rise me beyond the obedient, emotional child within me and onto sovereign perceptions. As I hearken the wisdom of my senses, the mind-invented museum loses all authority. Emotional snapshots deserve, social obedience collapses, and so does ancestor obedience collapse. And that's something you got to really start being open to, is we live ancestral obedience. My senses open the frontier where my divine dreamer's dexterity moves freely, fluidly, and fiercely. My senses chauffeur me through life because they perceive the nowality, never the reacting of history. Emotions echo the past. Senses ignite the now and the light of now. Sovereign valor leads my life as sovereign wise emotion versus his senses. Sovereign wise, emotions versus senses. Emotions obey, senses perceive. Emotions are social trained children, conditioned by culture, lineage, memory, and yesterday's alarm. They reenact old stories, old snapshots, and old programming. Senses are sovereign scouts. They preserve the now without distortion. Emotions reenact, senses unveil. Emotions loop, senses liberate. Emotions circle inside the mind museum, repeating inherited narratives and familiar reactions. They keep you in yesterday's echoes. Emotions keep you in yesterday's echo chamber. Senses break the loop by delivering raw immediacy of fresh foresight, smell, touch, hearing, taste, snaps you back into present moment. Emotions trap, senses free. Emotions dramatize, senses chauffeur. As emotions dramatize the moment, adding commentary, fear, logic, and ancestral residue of never do goes away. They amplify noise, senses chauffeur you through life with sovereign valor and clear perception, instinctual clarity, and frontier wisdom. Emotions complicate, senses navigate, and the savage, wise truth veracity of all this is emotions are obedient to the past, senses are loyal to your sovereignty. Emotions echo, senses guide. Emotions bind, your senses rise. And the thing about senses are, they arrive before the thinking memory mind does. And they really rise you out of yesterday to enjoy today. It's really about here and now. Your senses are here. Your emotions are back there in the back of the mind. And they have whatever there's there, whatever the script they run is what you experience. And I want to say thank you. I am Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. And may you enjoy a week of health, wealth, and prosperity.